All right, so be one and be great, y'all. It's Jay Dizzle. So what I'm gonna do on this? Listen, I don't want to continue to make this like a big thing where I just keep on going in on Taharka Bey, aka Tito Johnson, aka Kombucha Bey, aka Agent Bey, aka Ashburger Bey, aka Autistic Bey, aka Down Syndrome Bey, aka Bussy Bey, Clown Bey, Clown Gay. I don't want to keep doing that, but what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna show you some things, and we're gonna anchor this to counterintelligence 2022, because that's why I'm really compelled to keep doing this. It's because, well, I'm gonna let you know who I am a little bit. I got a couple throwback clips just to show you some receipts, resume, that some of us who speak on certain things actually have a foundation and personal experience to speak on these things. Some people are just trying to be YouTube stars, and nothing wrong with that. Just stay in your lane, though. Stay in your lane. And understand that when people see, someone like me sees an obvious agent operating within the realm of conscious community, I would say blackness, but Taharka Bey by default being a Moor and what he speaks himself doesn't consider himself black. Which makes it all the more interesting that he's so interested and compelled to go in on black topics. Like he's the moral authority of what should go and what shouldn't go. But he doesn't have no receipts in the streets. Right? He doesn't have a resume of actually doing tangible things. The only thing on his resume is YouTube videos and ripping people off just so he could build out his Moorish World TV studio, not the actual village and tangible community that he said he raised the money on. But you could always go to Kombucha Bey, aka Taharka Bey, aka Peepin' Bey, and get the receipts off that, or on Slap Media too. Or what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna show you some things about this dude's character first. So we're gonna start off with this video. It's pretty funny. It's pretty entertaining. This is by, and this is just a reaction video slash fair use, right? So this is Fleexco Burb. He did a video, or they did a video. Let me like it. Matter of fact, this is a good video. You should subscribe. They should definitely have more than 55 subscribers. But it's called Taharka Bey and As the Kombucha Turn, or end the Kombucha story. I'm gonna just play a little bit, skip around a little bit, because I don't want to just use this person's all, intellectual properties completely. But they deserve a little something, right?
Welcome to As the Kombucha Turns.
Under the weather. I'm gonna try this ginger.
This is funny, you guys.
Here. Let me see. Well, I saw Netta over there drinking, what he be drinking over there, the Mexican beer. I drink raw kombucha.
So the reason why I'm showing you this guy, I just want to show you his character, right? First of all, I mean, so, he has to shade somebody else for what they're drinking, because of course he is the go-to when it comes to morality and everything that's pure and good, right? So he has to shade someone else. And then he touts his raw kombucha like it's just the best thing, right? Okay, so then he has Dr. Inky, someone who has studied when it comes to health, right? So let me just show you the part. He has Inky come on the show, and he asked him about kombucha.
Get that good doctor is in the building. Brother, you got on your bow tie. Brother, hold up. Before you get in, brother, you got on your bow tie. You got on, what kind of glasses are those, brother?
Gucci.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Is kombucha okay for you? Tell me, brother. I don't care. I fix it.
No, that's the answer. The answer is no.
It's not. Why is it?
Did you see how fast that nigga got offended and put that drink down?
Man.
Just give me something short, brother.
No, I'm just. I don't know. No, I'm.
1, 2, Taharka's losing his cool. 3, 4, Inky shut the door.
Got you, but the problem is every time I talk about kombucha, people get mad. You notice there's a common.
People get mad. So this is no different. What's gonna happen on this one is just to fast forward. I want you should actually just watch the whole video. It's very entertaining, very informative. It's a cool video. So basically, Dr. Inky says no, kombucha isn't what you think it is. It's not that great, pure, healthy choice that you're trying to act like it is. And then he starts trying to break it down. But of course, as Taharka Bey starts to Google what he's gonna do, I'm gonna mute it and just let it play through a little bit. He starts to first he's mad, he's filibuster, he's upset because he didn't get the answer he wanted. Right? He's live on his show, asking about a drink that he's always promoting as the healthy thing, and then the doctor tells him, nah, not really that. So he gets upset. What he's gonna do is he's gonna start filibustering, he's gonna start Googling, he's gonna admit he doesn't really know too much, but he's still gonna argue with someone who does, someone whose opinion he asked. Then he's gonna start cutting him off, and he's gonna eventually just kick him off the whole show because he's gonna be upset that he didn't get the answer that he wanted, and because he doesn't have the integrity to be like, oh, well, maybe I need to research it more. Maybe it's not what I thought it was, because he admitted himself he doesn't know very much about it. So he's not going to let Dr. Inky, give his explanation or answer the question that he wants him to answer, that he asked him originally. He's not going to allow him to do that. That just goes into the character of integrity that Taharka Bey has, because he can't see people like Taharka Bey thrive off of exploiting everybody else's faults while upholding himself as faultless. So someone like that can't be wrong in front of his audience. You see this all the time on social media, right? Facebook, this and that. You might be having a debate with someone, and when they're wrong, they just go silent or delete the post or delete everything because they can't just say, oh, my bad, I was wrong, I got it fucked up, maybe I misread it, maybe the source I had wasn't thorough, blah, 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 you're right, thanks for correcting me. Very few people can do that. But if you call yourself a leader or someone that's in charge of morality and having the ability to judge others, you have to be able to admit when you're wrong and correct that. That only actually makes you stronger and more credible. But he doesn't have these things.
Hold up, Inky. I never knew that, brother. Maybe.
Yeah, that's one of the main things. Like people with vegan restaurants, they be doing people dirty because they like to get Bragg's liquid amino acids, because Bragg liquid amino acid makes the food taste good. But Bragg's liquid amino acid is basically like a source of MS.
But no, what my understanding is, Inky, kombucha can be made from any sort of tea. And I'm looking it up right now. It's not a certain kombucha plant. It can be made from any sort of tea.
Now, what they're going to explain in this video later on is that kombucha isn't a plant. It comes from a plant because it's tea, right? And this is what Dr. Inky was explaining. So kombu is a plant. It's a type of seaweed. Cha means tea. Got lost in translation, a lot of different things, blah, blah, blah. But in short, when he's asking Dr. Inky to show me a kombucha plant, there's no such thing as a kombucha plant. There's a kombu plant, which is seaweed. But he's not going to allow him to explain these things because, of course, it would kill his credibility and what he's been trying to, the narrative he's been trying to put out about how healthy he is because he quit drinking and all this stuff, but he only drinks kombucha, which is 5% alcohol because it's fermented. It's fermented fruit and sugar and yeast. So,
No, you're talking about a fermented drink. That's like what they started from Jamaica. But what I'm saying is that the plant that they make that fermented drink from is the source of where they began extracting MSG from.
What I'm telling you is that I'm looking at it now and it's saying inherently kombucha. The question is kombucha a plant or an animal? It say kombucha is both vegan and vegetarian.
When the fuck did that become the question?
Kombucha is made by fermenting tea, and that can be any tea.
Hold on. But you hear what they're saying? Okay, but you got to go.
Kombucha is the result of fermenting, according to what I've studied.
What he studied just started just now. He literally just Googled it during this conversation. Now he's an authority to challenge the very person who he asked if it was good or not. But he didn't get the answer he wanted. See, if Inky would have been like, yeah, he would have just been like, see, I told you. Sonetta's over there drinking that blah, blah, and I'm drinking raw kombucha and it's vegan. But he didn't get the answer he wanted, so now he has to filibuster. He's gonna eventually
met
kick.
someone-
He's gonna eventually kick Inky out. So I just want to show you, like, this is the integrity of somebody who, you know, who can go through a whole 5 years of undermining everybody else in the community that's actually doing things. So just keep that in mind, and we're gonna leave that there. Now we're going to switch gears because what we're going to anchor this on is counterintelligence. I'm going to read to you the actual goals, and we're going to see if Taharka Bey meets the standard of trying to fulfill the goals of counterintelligence. But let's start it off like this.
We know that we as a group of people, we need an army. We need people who is prepared to stand in defense by all means necessary.
So this is the same brother who says that, but when you get through his video list, most of the people who he attacks are just those people who he says we need. In fact, several different new Black Panther Party formations, Malik Zulu Shabazz, right? Brothers and sisters who actually pulled up against the KKK. He went on a tangent for like 60 days straight against them. But then he turns around now and says, hey, we need this and that. We need to have these kind of things. We need a military. Yet when InFact did their thing, they said, oh, they're blowing up the spot. They're making it too hot. That's not the right way to do it. They're asking for violence. Then he turns around and says, well, they're not really shooting people, so they're not really real. Then he turns around, says that we need that type of stuff in the community. Then he brings on people who, well, we're going to see.
About with the burner. Sometimes it ain't time to talk. Y'all know that thing? Sometimes it's time for peace and it's time for war. But who are the ones that has enough courage to stand up when it's time for war? And I'm talking about all out war.
He's not. He's going to tell you that in a minute.
I support legitimate freedom fighters, militia.
Now, let me ask you this. Since he says he supports legitimate freedom fighter militias, let me ask you a question. Name one, just one, freedom fighting militia that he has openly supported. Name one. Because every single one he has disrespected and undermined, delegitimatized, and dragged. Every single one. So he says he supports legitimate ones. Maybe he just hasn't found one. Is that what he's trying to say? He hasn't found one yet. That's why he hasn't supported any of them, nor any organization or individual or organizer or institution. You've never heard him in support of anything progressive for our people ever. Ever. In fact, anyone who he has on, he ends up disrespecting. Look at this. I don't subscribe to the channel, but because of the algorithms, I get notifications. And in this story right here, if you could read it, Mike Copperchild attacks MWTV and Taharka Bey responds, breaking down his figurine hat. So Mike Copperchild is the person who makes a lot of the hats that they wear on 125th. Like I think Red Pill made him kind of famous. And he had him on the show only because this Mike Copperchild dude was calling Brother Rich of Black Magic 365, which is a pretty dope channel. He was calling him a scam, even though really when he broke down what happened, it didn't really sound like a scam. But because he was calling him a scam, of course, Taharka Bey is going to have him on, right? Anytime you're down in anybody in the community, he wants to talk to you. But like I said before, once he has that talk with you, he is going to turn his back on you and start attacking you. And it happens every single time. So, of course, it happened again. But anyway, back to the programming.
And gun clubs. Legitimate ones. Now, I ain't supporting none of them phony ones, whereas though I come out there running my mouth, because I'm an orator.
So he's letting you know he's an orator. He's going to run his mouth like a girl. He's going to run his mouth. He's not going to really get involved. He's not going to actually do anything that would put him in intimate knowledge or awareness of what really goes down. He's not going to do that. He's going to talk from his microphone. Not really get involved, but he's going to tell you that he's the guy that you should listen to determine who's who within communities and circles that he is not familiar with.
I'm the
He's a
rally
talker.
up. I'm
Right.
the trumpet
The trumpet.
to get you riled up. So
The
we
clown.
go get this done.
Okay.
But I ain't gonna be sitting up there riling up people and you bluffing. You got there, you like Grandmaster J, you got blue bands on your wrists. Oh no. You working with the police getting permits and all that. No, we ain't doing none of that.
Okay, none of that getting permission stuff. Even though he's always talking about paperwork. Paperwork it basically means you have to get permission. If you're going to have a more science temple, there's certain paperwork and articles of incorporation that you have to submit to the government. That goes for any business, any nonprofit, any organization, any type of licensing. You do home repair, so you say. You flip property, all those things require permission. Now let me explain something. So I know a lot of people who don't really understand. They make a fuss out of things that really shouldn't be. For instance, when you see rallies and protests, a lot of times, yes, you get permission. You get a license to do so. You're shutting down the city streets. No, it's not that you couldn't just do it just on a whim and say fuck it. But in order to actually fulfill your goals, like if your goal is to get awareness out about a situation, then yeah, you might go to the city. Hey, we're protesting, blam, 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 permit. These are the streets we want to utilize because these are going to be high visibility. And we're trying to get the message out basically about a situation that maybe even we have political endeavors tied to it, meaning we're trying to get a law changed. And I'm going to show you some of this in a minute because I've been involved in these type of things successfully to get a law changed in Washington state that has never been done in the country before or since. And it took organizing. It means all the protests and marches we did, they weren't just sporadic where we just popped up. Sometimes it was like, the person who organized it, okay, here's the streets we're going, blah, blah, blah. We're going to be shutting it down because what we wanted was high visibility so people would cover it and so people could support it because we also had a law attached to it that we were trying to change that required 250,000 signatures. So it was chess. That's how the game's played. It's politics at the end of the day. We got to be involved in this. That means we need all different types of organizations in a united front doing their part. There's different components to this thing. This is misunderstood by some of those who don't really participate, but they're sideline warriors. They're backseat drivers, Monday morning quarterbacks who don't really have an intimate knowledge, who haven't really put in this work, so they don't understand how difficult it is. That's why they could disrespect other organizations because they don't agree with them, even though they're actually having productive, they're actually producing results and have an anchored tangibility to the community. But it's easy to look at it from YouTube and be like, oh, I don't like this and that about them. But if you haven't really been in the trenches like that, you don't know the difficulty of it. You don't know the challenge of it. There's always a mutual respect. Even Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, although they disagreed, they still had a degree of respect, which allowed them to eventually come together and meet. Because at the end of the day, neither of them saw the other one as not being genuine about what they're doing. They just had a disagreement with mythology. They didn't even have a disagreement with objective, really. Just the way of going about it. But respect begets respect. And when you see somebody out there putting in that work, you gotta salute it. You gotta respect it, even if you don't like them as an individual, or even if you don't agree with their method. See, this YouTube and this internet shit has things twisted. You would think that all there is mumble jumble and garbage and scams and all that. It's not the case. Not even with the conscious community. Only online do you see that. In the real world, it's not really like that. But that's the impression people will get if their first exposure to it comes from someone like Taharka Bey.
And I'm sitting up there running my big mouth thinking you got my back. And then little do I know, you up there talking with the police talking about, yeah, we only going to march down here and then we're going to pack up and go.
Hey, that's standard shit though.
Nah.
Hey,
so
that's standard.
I support true freedom fighter.
So what he's saying is, he's playing both sides of the fence, because in one minute he's civilized and we have to do this according to law and the book and order and rules and this and that, but then he's saying, well, he's mad if an organization is transparent with what their intentions are during a protest. Like I said, sometimes it's just like what you seen the summer of protests when the George Floyd riots kicked off. That was just cats just mobbing, pulling up, pressing. That's necessary too. But when you're an organization and you're doing it in an organized fashion, yeah, sometimes you are going to make it where, like, hey, because we don't want the drama, the riffraff, yes, we're going to be bam, bam, bam. Over here, they're shutting it down. It still disrupts the normal flow of the city. So it makes a statement that way. Plus, people see what's going on. Now they want to get involved. Or at least it gives exposure to those who want to get involved. It brings highlight and exposure to a situation. I've been a part of many of these protests for people killed here in my city. This is partly how we were able to get a lot of change, and I'm gonna show you some of that in a minute, though. So anyway, so what he's gonna do, he's gonna bring on some people. Never heard of this organization. They're called the Freedom Fighters, right? I mean, I'll just put it like this: no organization that I know from the soil would come and talk to Taharka Bey. Not in 2022, and it's too obvious what he's about. And it does look like they're a little bit for show, because they're in somebody's bedroom, but they're all dressed up and people in the back. Listen, I'm not going to disrespect them. I don't know who they are. I don't know how sincere they are. Even if maybe they're not effective, if they're sincere and they're really trying to do something, I got to salute that. I mean, I'm still happy for that. But let's just keep going.
With a bang. Let's start off with Sister CC. Sister CC, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you come from?
Let me make a quick prediction. At some point, he's going to go against them too. I can almost guarantee you, at some point, he's going to go against these brothers and sisters as well.
From, and right after that, pass it to Charles. Charles, you pass it to William Weston, and we're gonna get this started, because we ain't gonna play with this. This has been a long time coming. Brother Charles, it's been a long time coming. That's right. I'm really excited. I'm like about to sound like Don King now. I am excited because this has been a long time coming. So let's get it started. Sister CC, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from, or if you don't want to tell us where you from due to security reasons, that's fine also. We don't need no government, but just a little bit about yourself so we can get to know you a little bit.
My name is CC. I'm with the Freedom Fighters, NC. I'm from North Carolina. I love to put boots on the ground. If I can, I do it every day. Love helping my people. And you can see us out there all the time. I'm for good, honest, working people who's really actually working for our people, not just somebody who's stealing from our people. I can't tolerate that.
You're kind of breaking up a little bit, but I got what you were saying. You for
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you was breaking up a little bit.
Okay.
But you for good, honest, hardworking people, and not for our people that be stealing from our people. In other words.
Yeah. I don't tolerate people who steals from my people. Don't
So-
let none of that crap. We trying to get the ones that is fraudulent out the movement. Period. Straight fraudulent.
See that?
Not trying to deal
You see how happy he was?
If you will, let me say
See,
real quick.
anytime it comes to shading somebody, he just gets giddy like a little bitch. It tickles his little bussy. Because this kind of, the narration is justified, right? And now what he's gonna do is gonna set her up for a particular question because he wants to justify the bullshit he does. Check it out.
In these freedom fighting organizations under the auspice of the Black Panthers and the alike, is it a lot of people, leadership or membership, the same, that are disingenuous, or are they a minority, would you say?
So, I think it's it's a lot of us.
Ah,
I mean, like
no, what I'm saying is the disingenuine, do they outweigh the genuine?
yes,
Because I want to support the genuine. You
yes,
know what I'm
yes,
saying? So do the disingenuous
yes.
outweigh the
Got
genuine?
okay. Yeah, I had to turn the phone up. Yes.
Ah, that's not good. With that being
Okay, first of all, that's bullshit. Now, like I said, I've never heard of these freedom fighters. If they're doing things in the community, listen, let me explain something to you. And I'm going to show you some things that I do in the community and have done for years. And it's not because I think I'm flexing or anything like that. Really, it's just because listen, every community has people that's doing things that you don't know about because they don't get press. They don't make a YouTube thing out of it. There's good things going on in every community. I've been saying this for years. No matter what community you go to, there are good things. There are good people doing things on a grassroots level that you're not going to be aware of if you're not tapped in. So they may be doing some things that's great, and I don't want to disrespect that, but never heard of them. Okay? So you want to talk about Panthers, New Black Panthers, started in 1989 by Aaron Michaels. Rest in peace. When he passed, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad took over. Chief of staff at that time was Malik Zulu Shabazz, meaning the next one up. After Malik Zulu Shabazz stepped down, or excuse me, after Dr. Khalid Muhammad passed, there was a breaking up of different formations because some people didn't like the fact that the next person up at that time was Hashim Akanat Nzinga, rest in peace. And he was young. And a lot of people didn't like that and they thought that they should have been next. So they started breaking up. So you start seeing these different formations form, about at least a dozen, maybe half a dozen different formations. New Black Panther or Huey P. Newton Gun Club, I think Guerrilla Mainframe and other organizations broke from that, including General Taco and them with Black Riders. Salute to all of them. So the new Black Panther Party broke up in many different fashions. It basically decentralized itself, which isn't actually a bad thing. And that's where, in fact, pretty much came from, gathering different formations of brothers and sisters that's willing to stand up against the KKK. And then a whole bunch of other outsiders started just doing their own thing that didn't come from the branch, didn't come from the root, didn't come from the tree of Khalid. And I suppose this is one of those groups. So I'm saying I don't know them personally, but anyone who says that there is more disingenuous people in the movement than genuine people is not familiar with the movement, because this work is too damn hard to be disingenuous about it. You might have flakes. You might have people who's not really built for it. You might have people who just ain't leadership material, but you don't have people that come into it with false. Not too many people that come into it with false objectives. It's just too hard and too dangerous for that. So if her personal experience, there's more people that's not serious or that's disingenuous than that's genuine, I would just have to say she probably hasn't really networked that much. Because if she did her basic homework, she probably wouldn't be here on Taharka Bey's show. None of them would. But let's continue though.
being said, sis, let me swing on around to Bro Charles. Bro Charles, tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's get it started.
Peace, Mo. Peace, family.
Hey.
I started being an activist in 2014. The pigs arrested me for walking on the highway. I'm a single dad, taking care of a little girl by myself. And they locked me up for walking on the highway and gave me child endangerment and soliciting to a minor service.
Soliciting to a minor. So he's going to tell you he used to be New Black Panther Party, he's not any longer. And with something like soliciting to a minor on his record, that's probably why. So I don't know these cats. What I do know is I don't know them. And that says a lot in itself. But this is who he will bring on as he disrespects those who come from the tree of Khalid. All these, in fact, Malik Zulu Shabazz, listen, he has this chick right here who claims to be Tupac's daughter just because she was going in on Malik Zulu Shabazz. He made a thing out of disrespecting every Black Panther formation he disrespects. Then he brings these guys on who no one knows of. But the ones that were really pulling up, the ones that's really in the communities, that's who he's attacking. So let's move on to the counterintelligence. Let's look at it. Let's look at the goals of counterintelligence. It's not enough just to say that this guy's an agent. Let's see why I'm saying this. Goals. This is from the Cointelpro files. These are public files at this point. Goals. Let's put some music behind it. For maximum effectiveness, the counterintelligence program, and to prevent vested effort, long-range goals are being set. Now, we already know prevent the rise of a black messiah that everybody talks about. That's number 2, but let's start. Prevent the coalition of militant black nationalist groups. In fact, stands for Not Fucking Around Coalition. He wants to prevent the coalition of militant black nationalists. The reason why INFACT is a coalition, because INFACT itself isn't necessarily an organization, rather it's many organizations and individuals who came together for a common goal, which was to show a presence of armed black men and women who were willing to stand up against KKK, who literally made death threats prior to them marching on, Stone Mountain. Right? So he wants to prevent that. That's why he went in on INFACT as soon as they did that. In unity, there is strength, a truism that is no less valid for all its triteness. An effective coalition of black nationalist groups might be the first steps towards a real Mau Mau in America, the beginning of a true black revolution. They wanted to stop a coalition of black militants because they didn't want a revolution, which in the new Black Panther Party, revolution is defined as complete and constructive change to our benefit. So he attacked the coalition, which is goal number 1, just coincidentally, goal number 1 of counterintelligence program against our people. Number 2, prevent the rise of a messiah who could unify and electrify the black militant nationalist movement. This is why he goes out of his way to undermine any individual or organization that has the ability to compel others to get involved in the movement of activism and social justice. Let's continue. Prevent violence on part of black nationalist groups. Goes without saying. Number 4, prevent militant black nationalist groups and leaders from gaining respectability by discrediting them to 3 separate segments of the community. And it goes on. The goal of discrediting, tactically in 3 ways. You discredit those groups and individuals to first the respectable Negro community. That means those, in their words, what that means is those who's not really involved in it, just the regular ones that's trying to stay out the way and just live a good life and not really concerned with the systematic racism and injustice. You know, just the safe Negroes. Discredit to them first. Second, they must be discredited to the white community. And this one's the kicker. Both the respectable community and the liberals. So that means he's both conservative and liberals. Who may have empathy for black nationalists. Third, check this part out. Third, the groups must be discredited in the eyes of Negro radicals, the followers of the movement. In other words, what we might call the conscious community or the Black Power community. Discredited to them. Hence, why he continues to attack all these groups and try to pit them against each other and discredit them so they can't gain respectability, so the movement can't grow. Like I said before, I don't care if he gets a check from the government or not. He's monetizing his cowardness and his betrayal of our people nevertheless. And it just so happens he's operating in the capacity of counterintelligence. What's counterintelligence? It means I want to go against your intelligence. You have an intelligent movement, let's counter that. Or It means misinformation propaganda campaign. This is what he's doing. This is literally counterintelligence 2022 being done by Taharka Bey, Agent Bey. Now, I told you I was just going to show you some, just so you can see some receipts of who I am and what kind of things I'm involved in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this isn't the flex. This is because this stuff is going on all over the community. But also it's going to show you why I'm more compelled to go against someone like Taharka Bey, and how I could easily identify this, because we study this, because we come against these type of things all the time. If you're really doing that work, whether you're a Panther or whether you're just the organizer, it doesn't matter. Remember, J. Edgar Hoover said one of the biggest threats to America was the free breakfast program of the 60s. Why? Because it shows self-sufficiency. It shows if we can do things on our own, we don't need them. And once we don't need them, we can operate on our own. That is in direct conflict to a racist like J. Edgar Hoover in the FBI. But just to show you some of the little things I've been involved in. This first one, this is the Yes program. Something that I started about 2017. And what we mostly did, we did everything from intervening in our community where there was gang wars, feeding the community, educating the youth, doing school drives for school supplies, barbecues, showing different videos and different movies, and then having discussions about them, things that was relevant to our history, like 1805 and the 13th, goes into the 13th Amendment. And several other different things that we did on our own or in coalition with other groups. Later, what I did, because it takes years for some of these things to pop off. When we first started doing this, this was all out of pocket with the help of some supporters who may have contributed to GoFundMe, and salute to them. But mostly it came out of our pocket. Meaning that we're in the streets doing what we do for the community, but we still had jobs. We still had to find ways to make money so we could fund these type of things. And then we have such respect in the community. If we needed buildings to operate out of or different resources, look, there's places where I can't even pay right now if I wanted to like go get some flyers printed up, because they know me and they're not going to take my money. They're just going to do it for free. That's what happens when you actually serve the community and people respect you. Setting up right now. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, let me turn the camera on. Setting up. Let's see how we setting up. We got the comrades. You know what I'm saying? Setting up for the school supply drive. Yes program kicking off. You know what I'm saying? That's how we do. That's what we do. Let's go to the little walk-in freezer. You know what I'm saying? We got some let's go to that walk-in freezer. We got some food that we setting up. So for y'all that you know what I'm saying, that are organizers that organize and do things in the community, and you ever hear me say it's important to connect with the churches in your community, you know, this is why. Because when you make a good relationship with the churches in your community. So this was a building that's owned by a church that they gave us the keys to, that we could do whatever we want, whenever we want. So we put together different programs and stuff. Now, when we started the Yes program, like I said, it was straight out of pocket. This was 2017. At this point now, it is incorporated as an actual nonprofit. Matter of fact, just got back from doing a melanated martial arts training with the youth in the community. And we have other things that we're doing and that we're building towards. But, you know, it took time. At first, it was just like us just doing it. And then we figured, okay, well, maybe we can make it more legit and get more support and more resources and really put together what we're putting together now, which is a STEM program in a clubhouse and things like that. So, you know, I'm just showing you, like, you know, this isn't just talk. And this is how I'm able to identify, because, I put in this work since I was like 19 in the community. So, yeah, it makes me feel a certain way when some of these cats start talking out their mouth when that's all they're doing. And then they're undermining the efforts of people who's really out there putting their life on the line. I've lost comrades, a good half dozen comrades to this shit. So that's what it is. Something else. Going down, yo. It ain't nothing to go out there and get some signatures, man. What brother in his right mind ain't gonna sign this shit? Feel me? What person in their right mind elected? Terry Rogers Kemp, and the rest of the Not This Time organization, along with everybody that's out there putting in that work, so we can get these signatures, so we can get fair policing in Washington. I'm out. In like 30 minutes, we'll pull out a sheet like this. So what this was about right here, y'all, is a law that we got changed. It took a while to get this law changed, and it took a lot of people on the ground. It took 3 attempts total to get a law changed so we could scratch the words malice out of the clause that allows police to get away with murdering our people, because all they have to say is they feared for their life. Because if they fear for their life, it's not malice. And I'm going to show you a little video a bit later. So this is just me when I was out and about with my queen at the time. And I had some of these petitions, you know, in the car. So I'm like, oh, since we're going to Walmart anyway, I might as well just get a couple signatures. So I filled out a paper, got a good 50 signatures or so, just on the whim. But we really organized and really got this thing done, and it took time. And I was telling people at the time that this was going down because I wanted this to be an example to the rest of the country. Because if we did it where we only have a small population of our people in Washington State, there's no reason why this can't be done in Baltimore, Maryland. There's no reason why it can't be done in Oakland, Detroit, Atlanta, New York, and all these other cities where there's a higher representation. And that's why I was trying to show you this. This is why when I was really putting a lot of this stuff on Facebook and YouTube on my other channel, I was doing it not to boast like some people took it, not to show off. I was doing it to hopefully inspire others to get involved in their communities, and also to support, if nothing else. But of course, we like to support the bullshit, so hey, it is what it is. But the real support is really actually in the streets for these kind of things. And this is just the organizer of Not This Time and how we actually got this law changed. We don't have to sit and cry and beg and ask anymore. Peace. This is Jay Dizzle. The picture you're looking at is me and Andre Taylor. Andre Taylor, also known from the Hughes Brothers film American Pimp, also known as Gorgeous Dre. I want you to see this video that's about to roll in a minute or so. Because the brother that you're looking at, Andre Taylor, who turned his life around, had the unfortunate event of his brother being murdered by the Seattle police in February. So people in the Seattle area in Washington know about this story. And it just came out not too long ago that the gun that was found by Shay Taylor was previously owned by a police officer. So in this video, what you're gonna see is us basically pushing the I-873 initiative, which removes the language in the law that allows police to operate with impunity. You'll hear more. And just for the record, if anybody wants to look it up, I-941 is what eventually passed that held police accountable. It's the first time it's happened in the country. As maybe not as a result, but maybe as a result, you're starting to see more and more police being held accountable since this date. Not saying that it's directly a result from this, but it's really a result because people are getting fed up and they're starting to get untold and they're starting code and they're starting to actually get active. But this was a landmark victory. Not that it changes everything, but it's part of why I said, you know, it's politics as well. Because when we were doing some of these different protests and marches, yes, this is for Charlene Lyles, a sister that got killed by the police while she was pregnant in front of her babies. And yeah, we was protesting, and sometimes we protest, yeah, we did coordinate to let the police know where we're going to be at, like, hey, you know, so we can shut it down and we can get the message out because it got a lot of coverage, this and that, and this helped push the initiative that we were trying to get on the record anyway. But this is the kind of stuff that people do when they're really involved in the community on a grassroots level, not just sitting behind a microphone on YouTube. So anyway, back to this. More about that later. And if you've seen the video that I made with attorney Terry Kemp, you'll get more information on that. So in this video, what you're going to see is a short interview with me and Andre Taylor after a meeting for the Not This Time movement. You're also going to see footage of Shay Taylor being murdered by the police department. And you're going to...
And when I saw the dash cam video and seeing how they executed my brother, much as I loved him, love him still, as much as he was the apple of my eye, I knew there was nothing that was going to stop me from getting some justice for him. And in lieu of getting justice for him, for my people as a whole. And so, you know, I come from the streets, you know, I've been out of the streets for 20 years, but I was unrelenting in the streets.
Street Sweeper Ministries presents.
I grew up, my father was a pimp, my mother was a hoe.
From the gutter to glory.
I'm gonna say to that 16 or 17-year-old who wants to pimp, the chances of him not doing it right are very high, and not being successful are very high. The pimp game is a lonely one. We're in CCDC, Clark County Detention Center in Las Vegas. I don't believe that pimping and hoeing is a criminal act. I think that it's immoral before God. If you get in a situation, and at that time, if you come to jail for something that you did, you can't cry then. You know what I'm saying? And if wow. You know what I'm saying? And that was a devastating thing to me, you know. And about a 7-year-old little boy. I jog, you know, every day, and one day I saw a 9-year-old little girl and about a 7-year-old little boy, and they noticed me, they recognized me, because they said, oh, you know, there goes that pimp. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And that was a devastating thing to me, you know. At that moment, that felt like the worst thing that ever happened to me. For them kids at 9 and 7 to look at me with glossy eyes as if being a pimp was the thing to be. I didn't start out at 7 and 9 years old worshiping and wanting to be a damn pimp. You know what I'm saying? It was something that came upon my life, something that I did, something that I overcame. But I felt at that moment that the enemy somehow was using me to take this little child's mind before it's formulated into thinking that this is something cool to do. So I felt vicious. I was angry about that. Go deep.
We are OGs, the streets my brother, and I have a younger passion. So I want to let's talk about that real quick, because a lot of people, you know, a lot of people who listen to my radio show and who follow me on different media sites, you know, they often hear me say things like, you know, a lot of my ALites and affiliates used to be on a different side, you know, kind of like that Malcolm X. We know Malcolm Little, when he was in the streets doing his thing, he took that same passion. So I want to make sure that everybody that's listening to this and watching this knows that same passion can go, because you mentioned your younger brother, and I have a younger brother, so I know how the relationship between the older brother and the younger brother is almost like that's like your son, kind of, you know what I mean? So now, seeing that we are elders, you know, we are OGs, as the streets might call us, you know what I'm saying? We have to see the whole community of our brothers and sisters as our brothers and whatnot. So, but the Not This Time movement, and we have an initiative that's going on that you put together, more or less. Can you tell them about that and how people can get involved with that?
Initiative 873 is to challenge the law that gives police officers the right to kill,
Pay attention.
murder, without being held accountable. You know, people think when they see an officer blatantly kill somebody, that an officer is going to be investigated for a homicide like you and I would do.
Right.
But it's not true.
Right.
The officer is going to be investigated to see whether he follows the law. But the way the statute is written in Washington, the law says in order for us to bring an officer up on charges, we must first believe that the officer had malice.
Malice.
Well, malice is an impossible thing to prove, because malice is then a state of mind. This is why from 2005 to 2015, 283 people have been murdered by police in Washington and no officer convicted of a crime because of that law, that statute. So 873 is to change that unjust law, that same law that they've used to kill John T. Williams. the same law that they've been using all these years to be exonerated for blatant murder. So we got this initiative. Now, the initiative was, they tried to pass an initiative similar to this last year, a different way though. And the powerful police union crushed it in committee before it could hit the legislative branch to be voted on. So what we was able to do with the help of Lisa Hayes is create what is called a legislative initiative. It's the first time it's done in the whole United States. This is a precedent where it doesn't go to the committee anymore. So the police union can't stop it. It goes directly to the American people. It goes directly to the people of Washington.
So long story short, that was our second attempt. It didn't pass to the third attempt. By that time, it was Initiative 941. So I'm just showing you, real recognize real. And Taharka Bey is very unfamiliar. And nor does he have the credibility, the receipts, or the resume to speak on the things he's speaking on. And he is definitely operating in the capacity of counterintelligence. No doubt. No doubt about it. He is operating, let's just show this one more time, in the capacity of counterintelligence, because his objectives are in line with what the objectives of counterintelligence in 1967 was. And that is to prevent the rise of a black messiah, to prevent the long-range growth of militant black nationalist organizations among the youth, to prevent, what else do we got here? Number one, the coalition of black militant nationalist groups. So what he does is he undermines, he character assassinates, he causes confusion and misinformation, and that's what he does. Counterintelligence 2022. That's what it is. I'm out.